Coming up, we talk about the upcoming Destination D23 event coming to Walt Disney World. The annual Food and Wine Classic returns to the Swan and Dolphin, as well as Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival. And we talk about our top 5 attractions in the world. Coming to you from extremely cloudy Claremont, Florida, you're listening to the Theme Park Land Podcast. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Land Podcast for the week of August 14th, 2025. I'm your host, as usual, Matt Dobrowolski, joined as always by my amazing co-host, Matt Rogers.
Hello everyone, and welcome back.
Thank you all for coming back. If it sounds like we are tired, that means we are absolutely tired. We had a very fun night last night over at the Magic Kingdom, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But, you know, no short change here. We are tired. We are absolutely tired. So thanks for tuning in, and we are going to talk to you about some interesting stuff this week. First things first, we're talking about the Destination D23 event that is returning again this year to the Walt Disney World Resort. We do have some interesting things that have been announced for it. I think a lot of people have been very upset about this because normally with a D23 event like this, there is a parks presentation, usually by Josh D'Amaro, the chairman of Disney Experiences. However, there is nothing on the schedule this time for that. Very interesting. I'm kind of shocked that we don't have a panel, but at the same time I can understand why, because there were a lot of announcements just a year ago at D23.
I mean, did they just run out of things to announce?
Or do we not really have anything to announce? Because we just began the construction on all of the expansion stuff that's coming to Florida, at least. California, too, just started their actual construction on the Avengers Campus expansion, and they've already been talking about everything else out there. Is there anything really to announce?
I mean, I think that's kind of interesting, and I think it might just kind of be a lesson in Disney needing to pace themselves with these announcements and construction a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I definitely want them to be more focused on doing this stuff, more importantly. But, you know, kind of covering a couple of things that they have scheduled, at least. There's going to be an Ex Atencio panel, famous Disney Imagineer Ex Atencio. There's going to be...
Wait, he was a lyricist for, like, Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Correct.
He wrote the lyrics to that song.
And Haunted Mansion. Apparently there's a book coming out on him, so there's going to be a discussion on that. Couple of random things here and there. The creators of Phineas and Ferb are going to be there. There's going to be a 25th anniversary panel on Emperor's New Groove, which could be really interesting on
the movie that had no script.
But it was so good.
It was fantastic.
I mean, I've said it before. That is true comedy right there. That is true comedy with an animated film from Disney. There's going to be a part of Our World presentation, and Jodie Benson, who's the voice of Ariel, will be there. Susan Egan, who was the voice of Megara in Disney's Hercules and was the original Belle on Broadway for Beauty and the Beast, will be there for that. Interesting one, Disney Family Legacy with Roy Patrick Disney.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's kind of the only real member of the Disney family that still supports Disney. You know, he was the one that came out in full support for the audio animatronic Walt whereas it took a lot more convincing, I believe, from the rest of the family that's still alive. There's a 30th anniversary Goofy movie panel, which again, very excited about that.
I still wish the Rock and Roller Coaster redo would be Powerline.
Yep, that would be cool. And then to cap off things that evening would be the Disney 80s and 90s celebration in concert. All in all, everything sounds pretty cool. There is something on that Sunday morning, August 31st, Disney Villains, Icons of Evil. Apparently, they have said that we could be hearing some things about the Villains Land in that panel, because the Imagineers that will be involved in that panel are some of the Imagineers that are on that project, so that could be some updates.
I'm sure it's just going to be there to aid the Villains hype train Disney's trying to build up.
All because of Dark Universe. Let's be real.
You know.
All because of Dark Universe. So, but yeah, I think that'll be an interesting panel. I used to love going to these events. I know you haven't ever gone to them, but it's a little bit more expensive than going to the D23 event in Anaheim. But it's a guaranteed seating and guaranteed admission for all these panels that they do. They'll also have shopping there as well. Something that's kind of bothering me, I don't obviously have a ticket. However, if I wanted to go shopping at, like, they're going to have the studio store there, they're going to have Mickey's of Glendale, a couple of other things are going to be there. Cool. If I, as a D23 Gold member, wanted to go, I have to sign up and pay $15 to be able to go there and spend money. I think that is pointless. Why in God's name would I want to drop money just to give you more money? Why can't it be a free admission just through signups? I'll sign up and then I'll go and spend money. I think that's a huge cash grab right there.
Weird. There must be some reason for it.
There's got to be. I don't know if that's them trying to control the demand, but nobody's buying the time slots for these, which is, honestly, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
Interesting.
Anyway, moving on. The 2025 Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic will be returning again for its 16th year. I know you haven't done this, but...
Yeah, what is this?
So, I've done this in the past, and it is basically the restaurants at the Swan and Dolphin, as well as other aspects that they can bring in, usually country flavors, from kind of like what Epcot does with the Food and Wine Festival, but it's on a grander scale, in my opinion. One of the complaints that I see a lot with Epcot's Food and Wine Festival is that you're limited because you set your spending habit in terms of how much you're going to grab in terms of food. Here at this, you can pay... I am looking for the exact pricing on this. I will need to find that. But you pay a certain amount, and you can get an unlimited food pass. And you can eat as much as you want in the time frame that this is open each evening. So this will be Friday, November 14th and Saturday, November 15th from 5 to 9 p.m. If you want to partake in this, you pay X amount of dollars, and you will be able to go in and get as much food as you want with your little wristband. Now, you can do a pay-as-you-go thing if you want as well.
This is in the Swan and Dolphin Hotel.
It is usually in that massive courtyard area between the two.
So they have stands
hotels
set up there. They have their own little festival.
Correct, yeah. And it's only for these 2 nights. That's it. Only 2 nights for this.
So this is completely separate from Epcot's thing.
100% yes.
Okay.
So it is run by Swan and Dolphin. It is run by the food and beverage team at those hotels.
And apparently they have good food over at those hotels too.
100%.
Their quality team is really good.
I will preach it to the gospel that my favorite restaurant on property is not even owned and operated by Disney. It is Il Molino at the Swan. That is, as an Italian, that is some of the best Italian food I've ever had in my life.
Wait, I'm Italian.
So you will probably like this. So, telling you about tickets really quick. You can pay $210.68 for Friday night, and that will get you unlimited food. Unlimited food and wine. So it's definitely a great deal for it. You can also save, I believe it's 10% for both nights if you wanted to do that. There's also a discounted hotel rate at the Swan and Dolphin. It's an amazing time. We'll have to try and maybe do it next year.
This is something Gaylord Palms should do during their ice event.
Yeah, if they want to charge me better for parking over there.
But that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different story that we'll probably be talking about come the holiday season. Also, not to mention that they did come out with the menus for Epcot's Food and Wine Festival coming up. Some great options there.
It's a lot of the same old, but at the same time, there's some new things. I personally am looking forward to the, what is it? I lost it.
Honestly, we were talking about it yesterday.
There's a seafood pot pie that looks really good.
Ooh, that sounds actually really good.
And then the garlic Parmesan wings. I should get a little bit closer so people can hear me.
Well, but the garlic
Parmesan wings,
those have been there before, I believe.
I don't like them. They look scary.
I think they've been there before, though.
They have Korean barbecue wings.
However, we were talking about it yesterday. The French onion soup dumplings.
You ever had the soup dumplings from Trader Joe's?
Honestly, look, I haven't been to Trader Joe's in years.
But they have soup dumplings that they sell there that are really good. So if this is a take on that, let's go.
So road trip after we're done recording?
Sure, maybe.
But yeah, Food and Wine Festival, that's going to be starting up on August 28th. And yeah, that's going to be running until the week before Thanksgiving, I believe. So a lot of opportunity for food and wine throughout the property. Yeah, that's the seaside pot pie. That does look really good.
I just showed him a picture of it. If it's like the picture, I'm game.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not like $15 or something.
Oh, it will be.
It probably will. Yeah, so that's kind of really it for the news this week. Before we go into our big discussion here for the week, last night we had a pretty memorable time.
It was a party. Where did we start? We spent the evening at the Polynesian at the Tower and the Polynesian Classic.
My mother is Disney Vacation Club, so she had her room up there for the last 2 nights. And look, these rooms are gorgeous.
Oh, they're absolutely beautiful. And we have a DVC contact, and we were able to actually look into some of the demo rooms that they have, and they're very well thought out. I like that they're going to the Murphy beds because it's a couch by day, but it's a bed that flips down at night. But it's not a typical pull-out couch. It's just easy. It flops down into a bed, and there it is.
And look, I'm one of those people that was saying that this looks like it's going to be a Hilton, right? And you don't want Disney hotels to look like Hiltons. Especially with how the building was originally shown to us in concept art. When I've seen the finished product, I can clearly tell you this reminds me of Aulani in Hawaii. The design, the architecture of the building, the lobby too. I mean, look, the lobby is not much because you have the main lobby of the Polynesian. This thing is gorgeous. We also ate at Wailulu Bar and Grill, which is their main restaurant inside the Island Tower.
Y'all, the short rib.
Short rib loco moco.
It's short rib with a shiitake mushroom gravy over a rice cake topped with a fried egg, a runny fried egg.
And look, this wasn't...
It was amazing.
Cheap. It was about $33.
Oh, it was worth it, though.
But it was worth it, yeah. Because that short rib just, broke apart. It was so tender. So juicy. God, I want to go back and grab another one.
And I will say, at this restaurant began our drinking around Polynesian adventure.
Yes. Yeah, I had 2 Mai Tais, and then we went over to Trader Sam's for... I had an Oa and I had a Nautilus.
We had many alcohols.
We had a good time.
But it was a good time.
This is why we're a little tired this morning, so...
Did I wake up with cotton mouth? Yes, I did.
Did I wake up with a headache? Yes, I did.
but Trader Sam's is always a good time. If you don't know, it's very much a themed experience. It's
and this was your first time inside.
It's very small, very intimate. They can only seat, I think, like 30 people maybe.
It's something like that.
But they have these themed drinks, and when they bring these drinks out, depending on which drink you get, different theming elements happen. And it's
what was your favorite that you saw? Because I can tell you mine.
I think it was Nautilus, just because it's silly.
Yeah, that's mine.
But we won't say why.
Mine is a toss between the Nautilus and the Oa. The
Oa is just fun.
Right. For you theme park nerds that are out there, too, if you remember 20-something years ago, when we had the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management with Zazu and Yago.
This has some nods to that.
If you remember, in the center of the room, an animatronic... Tiki god came up who was named Oa. That animatronic has since been decommissioned and is up on a perch inside Trader Sam's Grog Grotto at the Polynesian. So when you order the Oa, things will happen. If you haven't been to Trader Sam's, you need to go. I will say this.
It sucks trying to get into this because
we got there at 3:00 when they opened for rope drop.
2-hour wait already.
It was already a 2-hour wait, and that when they quoted me 2 hours, it ended up being about 2 hours 45.
Yeah, it's.
So I'm gonna make a case for all of y'all out there, okay? Especially anyone listening to this as locals. Get a reservation at Ohana, Kona, or go over to Wailulu, okay? Put yourself on the wait list for Trader Sam's first. Go eat. Enjoy your meal. Relax. Enjoy
You'll have time.
You'll have plenty of time. And then you'll probably get called for Trader Sam's. I think that's the only way to do this. Because, look, don't get me wrong. I enjoy the drinks. You can go out onto the terrace and have the drinks and usually have no wait to get the drinks out there. But when it's 105 degrees out like it's been...
That terrace is hot.
That's why I really don't understand why we didn't expand the Grog Grotto to the terrace. If we didn't have the terrace and that was all Grog Grotto, easily they could have tripled the capacity of the lounge.
It is what it is, but now we know our strategy. And we'll do that next time. We'll book Ohana. We'll get it in the list for Trader Sam's before going and sitting down for Ohana. Then we'll go to Trader Sam's. But after that, we ended up staggering our way into Magic Kingdom.
Staggering.
And we got there just in time to ride It's a Small World to see the new finale verse in action, which, I mean, it's nice. It's there. It's subtle.
It, again, like I said on previous episodes, it blends perfectly with...
Unless you're listening for it, you don't know it's there. So it's nice.
True, yeah.
And then after that, we went over to Town Square and saw...
Starlight.
Which, it's the new parade. And it's finally... It's good to have a nighttime parade back in Magic Kingdom. Because it's been too long. And Magic Kingdom, I always feel, was very much designed to have a nighttime parade.
Now, again, you guys have heard my review on this because I saw this the first night. Matt, this was your first time. What are your thoughts?
I'm more of the technical kind of person, so my reviews are always kind of like on the engineering or technical side. First of all, it's to all the people involved in the operations aspect of this parade, it's something to be proud of. You know, anytime you can launch a new entertainment operation on this scale, it's definitely something to be proud of. That being said, this parade, I feel like, does not quite deliver like its predecessors did, like Spectra did, like Main Street Electrical Parade, for a couple reasons. I don't think it's a lack of parade floats. I think it's how close together they are, because they're right behind each other. And I
will say we did notice this on the first night, but we thought on the first night it was mainly because storms were in the area, and they just wanted to try and rush it out.
Maybe, but
I don't think that was the case, though, now seeing it last night when there were no storms in the area.
I think the effect this has is more on the audio presentation of the parade. So, in my ideal perfect parade at Magic Kingdom, you should be able to hear the float coming towards you, like that float-specific audio coming towards you. But because they're so close together, we don't get that experience. I couldn't hear the float's audio until it was right next to me or just passing me. So I wasn't able to fully enjoy the show audio of that particular float. I will also say that the lighting on the floats and the characters is very interesting. One of the things that Spectra was known for and Main Street Electrical Parade is every character was covered in lights. And there's a few lights on these characters' costumes, but they're like Asha, Moana, and a lot of the other face characters on these floats are just kind of lit up by bright spotlights. And it kind of washes them out. And it just doesn't quite look like what we've seen on previous nighttime parades. And it's kind of interesting to me because with the way LED technology is now and what you can do with those kind of lighting systems, I feel like they could have done some really detailed light up colors on those costumes that they just chose not to. But I do like the concept of the parade. I like how it's these floats coming out of a starlit background, because that's what they're going for. They're riding on top of the stars, and there's these different floats and scenes happening. I think there's not really a story to it. I think it's more of a showcase rather than a story parade, kind of like Festival of Fantasy does both really well.
But at the same time, Paint the Night was like that too.
Right, and it's fine.
If you asked anyone what the story of Paint the Night is, they'd probably look at you like Bambi caught in the headlights.
But that's why I think parades can be showcases. They don't always have to have stories. You know, it's kind of like It's a Small World after all. That ride is not a story-driven ride. It's a showcase with a message.
Not everything needs to be a story-based. It just needs to be good. It needs, and that is what Starlight is. Do I wish this was on the scale of Spectra Magic or Fantalusion or the Main Street Electrical Parade for that matter? Yes. Does it rival those? No. Those are unmatched to this parade. But it is a rightful supplement to those.
One of the other things I thought was really interesting is that in between the parade units, you do have dancers, of which have zero lighting on them.
Well, I will say this.
I think that's
they
interesting.
Added performers on the street with the Coco float that did not have any lighting whatsoever. I have to look back at my video from the first night. I don't remember seeing them. So I'm wondering if that has been a last-minute addition, and maybe we're still waiting on additional lights on those costumes.
It's just weird because there's no lighting on the dancers, and if the dancers didn't have lights on their costumes, I would expect that lighting to be along the parade route, lighting up between those parade floats. It's just
because,
very...
again, looking back at Spectra Magic or Electrical Parade, those performers in the streets had a lot of lights on them.
Like, what's there on the parade floats is pretty neat. I just can't help but feel that this parade might not be done yet. It might not be a complete parade yet.
Wholeheartedly believe that.
And I wonder if there were some logistical things and they got to a point where they were like, okay, we can delay it until next year because you're not going to premiere a new parade in the middle of Halloween and Christmas season. Yeah. Or we can just give them a parade like we promised we would this summer.
Look, we don't know any firm details or anything, but I truly believe I think this parade was a little rushed because originally, if you remember, they said late summer for this parade. Cool. think back to that. If they had said late summer, that would have meant August. Right now, what's starting tomorrow night and runs 3 or 4 days a week? Mickey's Not So Scary. You cannot premiere a brand new parade when you're not even going to showcase it 3 or 4 nights a week.
I think when it comes to rolling out the parade and commissioning, it honestly sounds like poor project management to me. Because what's there is amazing. And the other interesting thing is the Peter Pan and Wendy float. That is the same float from one of the parades in Tokyo.
Kind of.
It looks like it has the same rig. It looks like they're supposed to fly.
And, I mean, maybe they will. Maybe they will at some point, but we just don't know. That's
why I don't think this parade is quite complete yet.
I think after the first of the year, when they have some time to basically kind of work on the floats and maybe work on some stuff while the Halloween and Christmas parties are going on, I think this parade will be truly spectacular. But again, I'm not telling anyone to not go see this, but I'm also not telling you to say, this is better than Spectro Magic or Fantalusion.
No, it's not like going to see a new ride.
Or that too. Yeah.
Which I would argue seeing Spectro as a new attraction back in the day would be just as good as seeing a new ride.
I've also said it too. From a business perspective, what is the return on investment with this parade? Do you just hope that people are going to stay in the park longer? Because honestly, why are we not doing dining packages for this parade? The dining packages would bring in revenue.
What was the return on investment for Spectrum Magic or the Main Street Electrical Parade back in the day?
I mean,
it was just to keep people in the park longer.
But if you look at Disneyland, when they brought the Electrical Parade back, even during some runs of Paint the Night out there, they had dining packages. They would rope off right around there by the flagpole. I'm talking about
like in the 70s when they rolled
no, yeah. I mean, but that was also back in the day when we weren't revenue driven that much.
What do you mean? It was always revenue driven.
I mean, we were always revenue driven, but I believe we're truly more revenue driven right now than we are back in the 70s.
I mean, yes.
I mean, back in the 70s, we charged you for each individual ride, right? Nowadays, we charge you for an expedited access into the line on top of coming into the park and all these other complete add-ons that you could do to your vacation.
I don't know. But anyways, go see the parade. What's there is really beautiful. And hopefully it only gets better from here.
I hope so too. Anyway, let's go into our main discussion topic for the week. And that is our top 5 attractions in the world.
Now, this doesn't have to be at a Universal park or a Disney park. This is top 5 favorite attractions you've been on.
Honestly, though, I think looking at our top 5, we're all in the Disney Universal bubble, but not necessarily
some honorable mentions outside of Disney and Universal, though.
Fair. So let's get into our number 5 one. Okay. Do you want to go first or with yours? Or?
Yeah, sure. So my number 5 favorite themed attraction I've ever been on is Pirates of the Caribbean Disneyland Edition.
Good. I'm glad you said Disneyland Edition.
Why do I say this? It's just because there's something about one being on an attraction that Walt designed, and that's really, I think, the only...
You do have to remember Walt kind of supervised it, but never completed it.
Right.
Because remember, it opened in 1967?
It was within 6 months of his death or something. Yeah. But it was the only ride on that scale that Walt really was involved in. And you can just tell to this day the difference between that and our Pirates of the Caribbean and other attractions. I do like the immersion in it. I think the sequencing of from the moment you step into the queue, go into the building, get on the ride, come out of the ride, everything is just kind of built like a dream sequence. You're falling down into a dream, going down the waterfall. You're slowly waking up, coming out of the dream, going up the lift at the end. it's built with such intent and such immersion. And, I think it's still a top 5 ride today. And it's
almost 60 years old.
It's like 60 years old.
Yeah.
So, that's why it's number 5 for me.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if that's going to change if in one day you can ride the Paris or Shanghai version of Pirates. Because remember, Paris's version is still similar to ours, but it's kind of reversed, where you start off at the end of our ride, where you see the pirates in the jail cells, and then you go down the waterfall, and that's the pirates kind of breaking out of jail, by my understanding. And you see the main kind of sequence and everything. And then the ending is going through the caverns and everything. I need to go do it. I need to go to Paris.
We need to go to Paris, but unfortunately on this drunken trip to the Polynesian, I didn't plan a Paris trip.
Yeah.
Like I did last time. And we never went through with it.
And you never even went through with it.
But last time we were at Polynesian.
But even too, like
I planned a trip to Paris.
The Shanghai version too. Now the Shanghai version is completely different from Walt's original version. And that's more with Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones and all that. But that looks like a completely different.
Well, I think part of the reason it's number 5 for me and it's within the top 5 is because it's held up. Nothing.
I mean, it's definitely held up after 60 years.
No ride on that scale or a ride with that duration has been able to deliver that kind of experience and keep you interested.
I mean, that was Universe of Energy for me back in the day. 37-minute ride that would keep me at least engaged for the entire time.
But Matt, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is sadly 2, because I wouldn't be able to tell you if this was number 5 or number 6. They are tied for each other.
Ooh, let's hear both.
And they're tied in hopes that they are both operating to its 100% potential. So my number 5 would be either Star Wars Rise of the Resistance or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. I love both of those attractions. I have a special place in my heart for Rise of the Resistance because I spent about 5 years over at that attraction in Hollywood Studios. I love the ride with all my heart. I think it is the best Star Wars immersive experience and the most immersive ride, one of the most immersive rides out there. However, when it works, because if you have some of those animatronics that don't work, we know about the infamous cannons that don't work, but at least they're working now in California, thankfully. If that stuff doesn't work, then obviously that can deter on the experience, which would mean, yes, it would be lower than Guardians.
Now, this ride is actually in my top 10, but the reason it's not in the top 5 is because it's not consistent.
Right. You could go on it one day and half the animatronics wouldn't be working, or, you could be like me looking at a TikTok last night live from Rise of the Resistance in California and watching the ride through, and everything was working, including the cannons. So that's terrific. Guardians Cosmic Rewind is also on that list.
Also in my top 10.
Because, look, this is the smoothest coaster I've ever been on in my life. It is a coaster that will still hold up to a thrill standard. I mean, I will come off of that ride with the biggest smile on my face. Mainly because of how thrilling and how fun it actually is.
And that's one of the things about Cosmic Rewind. It's a little bit dark ride. It's roller coaster. It's themed experience. But it's everything it's doing very well.
Right. Now, do I wish that we could have probably had the original vision of this ride where there were supposed to be animatronics? Yes. That would have been really cool.
That would be fantastic.
And plus, it's a fun ride because you never know what your soundtrack's going to be until you launch. That's fun.
It's a little bit of mystery every ride.
So that would be my tie for a top 5 there. Again, probably more Rise of the Resistance than Guardians if Rise of the Resistance is properly working.
And I still think, Cosmic Rewind, the pre-show, the teleportation effect, when that's in full swing, it's really good.
Oh, yeah, because, that was the effect on Poseidon's Fury in Universal back in the day. But now that that's sadly gone.
Also, the Star Trek experienced in Vegas used that.
Never saw that. Wish I could have, because me being a
there's videos online of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Cosmic Rewind, that's, as much as I hate the presentation from where you can see it literally everywhere else in the park, because it's just a big blue box. That's the only drawback to it.
But they did their best to blend that in, I will say.
It's
the same thing that they did with the Soarin' show building. Is that they did their best to try and blend that in with the sky. Was it going to be obvious? Yes.
But and Cosmic Rewind is such, it's good for the thrill seekers, but it's also just a really good big family coaster.
See, I am a big proponent of not calling that a family ride, because no roller coaster is a family ride. Okay? A family ride, in my definition, is something that everyone can enjoy no matter what. Okay? Roller coasters single out small kids because of a height requirement, but it will also single out parents, adults that maybe can't handle the pressure of it, meaning motion sickness, right? A true family ride, the only ride system, I believe, there are two ride systems that are a family-friendly ride. That is an Omnimover, like the Haunted Mansion, and a boat ride. It is something that everyone can do, no matter the age, no matter the height, and you won't get sick on it. I remember when Universal came out about Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, and they said, this is a family-friendly ride.
It's a little subjective.
No, it's not. It's a 48-inch height requirement roller coaster that launches you 7 times and drops you.
See, I will say that's a different perspective from a theme park enthusiast versus a roller coaster enthusiast, because I'm kind of involved in both sides of that because of where I grew up and the parks I used to go to. So what's considered usually a family coaster is something with a 48-inch height requirement or under.
But again,
maybe it doesn't have inversions. If it does, it has one easy inversion. The launch isn't too intense if there is a launch. That's kind of the definition of a family coaster. But I definitely agree there's a difference between a family coaster and a family ride.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Because, if I asked you what is a family-friendly attraction at Hollywood Studios, what would you say?
It's Runaway Railway.
Would you say there's a second one at that park?
Is it Ass?
No, not Ass.
Alien Swirling Saucers?
No, like Toy Story Mania. That's something that everyone can do.
Can the babies go on it?
Yeah.
It's good for baby?
It's good for baby. It is good. It's a non-high... There's no height requirement to it. Now, will a baby understand the concept of, launching the pies at whatever you do on that ride? No, they wouldn't understand that. But Mickey Minnie is 100% a family-friendly ride. Would I say for a fact? Yes. But at the same time, I can also understand why it could not be considered it, because the intense nature of the ride, the jolts and everything that it does could upset, motion sickness to some people as well.
Yes.
So, let's move on to number 4.
Number 4.
And what would that be for you, sir?
I said Indiana Jones Adventure.
You had to look at my notes?
Just double checking. So my top 5 sometimes bounce around, but I'm trying to make this a solid top 5. Number 4 for me is Indiana Jones Adventure in California. First experienced it last year, but grown up on its counterpart in Florida, Dinosaur / Countdown to Extinction. For 20-something years, that's the only one I've been on. And Dinosaur or Countdown to Extinction, whatever you want to call it, it is such a phenomenal ride to me. Like, it is, I think, one of the last original e-ticket Disney attractions. Like, with an original story and everything. I
would argue Expedition Everest.
Well, as I said, one of the last.
Right. Yeah.
So, I was always very interested in Indiana Jones, but never going over there. When I got to experience it, just the level of immersion. How many
times did we ride it with you guys?
I rode it 4 times when I was out there.
Only 4?
Only 4.
I feel like it was almost 10.
No, but I mean,
you were out there for a couple of days.
Countless YouTube videos,
Shameless plug for DarthVader92.com.
Haha. But I think from, bigger isn't always better, right? So it starts with Adventureland out there. Their Adventureland in Disneyland, California is very small, but everything is so compact.
The whole park is small.
The whole park is small, but Adventureland there proportionally is really small. And to have, Tiki Room, Jungle Cruise, Indiana Jones, and the Treehouse, and then the Bazaar right there on one block.
I wish you could have seen what that area looked like just a few years ago, too. Because a lot of, what's their name? Industrial engineering or whatever. They came in and they kind of went through to see how they could open up the pathways a little bit more. I remember just a few years ago, probably about 10 or so years ago, stroller parking was right there in the middle of the street. And it created so much congestion.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Until they finally moved the stroller parking underneath the canopy area where the exit of Jungle Cruise is.
But the way they have Adventureland set up, it looks like you're in a jungle, so it's no surprise when you see an ancient temple there, which puts you, the theming around it puts you in the 1930s exploration era.
I think this was also something that Tony Baxter did with Adventureland when Indiana Jones had opened in the 90s. Because
they did like a redo.
I think they did, because
they kind of set the whole thing in the same time period.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at like old photos of it from like the 50s and 60s, because I don't believe it truly looked like that.
But and then you go into the queue, and then when you're in the temple, it's just full immersion. There's no, I can see the show lighting up there in the rafters or whatever. Like, it's just full 360 theming. And even into the ride, for the most part, the things unless you're in a dark spaces, which wouldn't be themed, but the ride areas in the big room in the middle of the ride, the ceiling's themed. It's just everywhere you
don't see the outside world,
and then
you don't realize that you're inside a Disney theme park.
No, and then there's the ride experience, right? Dinosaur's height requirement has been lowered over the years because they tried to make it a little more family friendly. They've tamed down the motion profile on that. So getting to see that ride system on full blast like it is on Indiana Jones was absolutely nuts. And the show that was delivered, just the effects working, the audio, just everything. This is truly an amazing themed experience. And it kind of blows my mind that it's almost 30 years old at this point. Right? Like, it's 30 years old almost next year, I think.
Yes. No, it's 30 this year, right? Wasn't it 1995?
Maybe, yeah, but it's 30 years old, and it still delivers on this experience. It's absolutely incredible. So it's definitely worthy of top 5 material.
So before we continue on to my 4, we have a little bit of breaking news that I just kind of saw on Twitter here. Disneyland has just revealed the 2 new characters for Oogie Boogie Bash this year, which starts, I believe, next week. We are going to be getting Maleficent. Cool.
Oh, I'm down.
But we're also getting Syndrome from The Incredibles. Okay? I need Matt to kind of give his reaction as he's seeing this video of this Syndrome, because I don't know how I feel about this. It looks it looks spot on, but I'm just like, very skeptical with this.
Boo Bash Entertainment lives on.
Yeah, it's...
I when we went to Boo Bash last year...
Boogie Bash.
Boogie Bash, whatever it is, the Halloween thing in California for Disneyland, blah blah blah. Absolutely incredible. Definitely recommend going. Their entertainment top tier because of where they're at in California.
I will say the tickets are not selling out quickly this year. Usually they sell out within the first couple of days when they release the tickets, but they're not selling out quickly, and I think it's because of the lack of additional things other than 2 new characters. It's something that I think Disney needs to start being a little aware of, especially with a lot of the construction that's going to start ramping up in that park.
Interesting. Anyways,
my number 4 should be no shock to anyone that really knows me. Going into Tokyo Disneyland, and that would be the Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast.
That's a good one.
Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast, for those of you that have not seen the videos of it or have not ridden it out there, this is a trackless ride, just like Rise of the Resistance or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway or Ratatouille to that point as well. You are literally, as you enter the line for the attraction, you are approaching a massive reconstruction of Beast's Castle. And I'm not talking how you walk up to the Be Our Guest restaurant in Magic Kingdom. This is a fully built, scaled replica of the Beast Castle. You enter, you go through corridors, which then leads you into the massive staircase area that you see in the movies. And a voiceover narrator tells you, in Japanese, obviously, the prologue, about how the Beast was this selfish, rotten child and everything, using a stained glass projection on there. And this is where you get to see the next level of audio animatronics that are out there. If you've been on Tiana's Bayou Adventure here at Magic Kingdom or in Disneyland, these are that type of high quality animatronics that you'll see on this ride. However, this is just incredible because Belle will appear on the balcony and she literally walks out holding a lantern. You'll literally see the Beast come out from behind a curtain and walk up, and literally, the famous line is Belle says to the Beast, "Come into the light," and he steps into the light and you see him. They recreate that in this pre-show. And again, this is just the pre-show, because now you exit and you board your teacups to go through, what is basically a book report of the movie. But it's incredible. It's incredible how they've done this, especially the transformation scene. I don't want to give it away. If you want to look at it, shameless plug, head to darthvader92.com and see my video that I put up of this. But this transformation sequence is incredible. The whole ride is just breathtaking. Hearing Alan Menken's beautiful score from this ride, every time we go out there, we have to ride this. We have to. And you can pay 2,000 yen to get their version of Lightning Lane, which is Premier Access. 2,000 yen equates to about $12, $13 a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does. Cheap. I've only, of course, seen videos because I haven't been, but it looks really, really impressive. They said something about also the castle on the outside. When you're walking up to it, the colors of the castle that you can see walking up to it are that dark kind of color.
Yep.
But as you're leaving the castle, if you were to look at it, because you're leaving at a slightly different angle, the castle looks lit up and full of color.
This is something that the Imagineers did. That this will have my full faith in Walt Disney Imagineering. And it just shows what they're capable of. You're approaching it, the curse is still a thing, so it's supposed to look a little dark and gloomy, but when you're leaving, the curse is broken, so you're supposed to see it in a little bit brighter of a light. Now, I think that also helps with how the sun's positioned and everything, but this ride is incredible, what they've done with it. So, that's my top 4, that number 4. Number 3.
Number 3 for me, it is a classic. None other than The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. So,
it's a good ride. Absolutely.
So my thing is,
cutting edge.
Every 10 years or so, there's a ride that opens that just completely changes the ball game. So, Pirates of the Caribbean was one of those rides. It just completely changed the game and what you could do with a dark ride, with a Tunnel of Love boat ride, right? Spider-Man did that for media-based attractions, right? 10 years before it, Star Tours did that. So, and what was really unique about Spider-Man was combining physical sets with 3D screens from a moving perspective. Now you notice if, and what do I mean by that? Well, if you sit in a 3D theater, depending on where you sit, the angles of the 3D effects don't quite, they change, for example. So it doesn't always look like it's coming directly at you if you're sitting in a back corner of a 3D theater versus the center. So what they had to do was they had to animate the screens on Spider-Man in a way that would reflect the moving perspective of the vehicle so that it would look right. That was the big deal, and then just kind of combining those things. Now, if you ride it now compared to something like the Peter Pan ride in Tokyo, it looks a little dated. The best they could do in 1999 was film projections, square screens, but now they have projection mapping. They can blend it into the sets a little bit more. But still, I think...
But also, too, they've upgraded the projections.
Yeah, they've upgraded the projections on this. I
think, when it first opened, it was just
film.
Whatever kind of...
It was 70 millimeter film.
It was 70 millimeter.
70 millimeter film.
And now it's like 8K.
It's 4K right now.
40 frame, whatever it is. It's top tier quality.
But I ride this ride pretty frequently still because we live here. Why not? And there's still people that get off that, or they're going through the ride and they're like, oh my God, holy crap. Like they're just, because they haven't been on it, right? And they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. And they don't realize it's 26 years old.
Do you see that level of shock on people with Transformers, since it's the exact same ride system?
No, because I am a believer that even though Universal has used this ride system at other installations, like Jurassic World in Beijing or Transformers at a couple of the parks, the pacing, the integration of physical effects with the on-screen effects and the vehicle and audio cues, the pacing, nothing has quite come together as well as Spider-Man has.
No, I'll agree.
Because and it's a great example of, hey, nobody's ever done this before, but let's put everything we can into this, and nothing has quite matched it since. And I remember when they were trying to, one of the stories from Scott Trowbridge, Terry Koo, the guys who designed this thing, allegedly what happened was Islands of Adventure was on a much narrower budget early on in the design phase and the conceptualization phase. And they were like, we want to do a Spider-Man ride, we want to do all these things, but they're never going to approve it. So what they did is, allegedly, they proposed an Omnimover ride themed around Spider-Man, and it was very much a Haunted Mansion knockoff. If you search the original Spider-Man concept for the ride on Google, you'll find it. I'll show it to you later.
Would have been a strong capacity.
But it was just going to be an Omnimover ride. You would go through, there would be screens, there would be a few sets.
Right.
But that's what they did to get the approval to develop this ride, and then they just kept doing things to get the budget up. They're like, oh well, we need to do this. If they don't do this, it's not going to be a good ride. And they eventually landed with what they have today, and it's still such a strong attraction.
No, I agree. Ron Logan would have always said that was his favorite attraction that he's ever been on, because it always appealed to the five senses. And yeah, you see amazing things. You can feel the heat. You can smell things. You get sprayed with water. It's really cool effects all brought together in a singular attraction. My number 3, again, we're going back to Tokyo, and this is at Tokyo Disney Sea. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Journey to the Center of the Earth is 100% in my top 5. It does rival Beauty and the Beast to that point as well. Journey to the Center of the Earth, for those of you that don't know, it is utilizing a test track Radiator Springs Racers ride system, so the slot car ride vehicles. But what makes this ride is the detail, the architecture of it. We all love when theme parks do rock work and everything for an attraction or an experience. This is rock work to the max here, because you're inside that massive volcano that you see, Mount Prometheus. And one thing that we didn't even realize was that they got us so well with the immersion. You go through the queue line, you see like these artifacts of, what you would have kind of understood from the story of Journey to the Center of the Earth that H.G. Wells had written all those years ago. You go through, and then you take these lifts that are supposed to take you further down to the center of the Earth, where you would board your ride vehicles and go through an exploration. We did not realize this until about the 3rd time we rode it when we were out there. Those elevators aren't taking us down, they're taking us up. Because we realized when we got off of the ride, because you take the elevator up to the actual ride loading area, you unload at the same level. The vehicles don't go up from the unload to the load area, they are on the exact same level. We go down a flight of stairs to exit. And we realized that we're not going down, we're going up. That's how well they did this immersion to it. The ride itself,
there's a really big animatronic in there, isn't there?
Yes,
and it looks
you have the
really
lava
good.
Monster. This is probably, this would be like my top 5 audio animatronics I've ever seen. The fluidity of this thing, the fact that this thing was built, 25 years ago.
It was late 90s. Almost.
Yeah, because it was 2001 when Tokyo Sea opened with this. It's incredible. There is no dialogue really that's going on throughout this ride. It's more of a awareness, if you will. And I don't think they need dialogue.
Well, that's the execution of the environment.
Exactly. You can tell this story of you are boarding these elevators to take you down to the center of the Earth, and then these vehicles will take you even further, and then you come across this creature, and you have to race out to basically get away from this creature. You don't need dialogue to tell that story. It's all visual. Literally, I will... This is another thing. I will ride this every single time I go there. It is arguably the best ride that is over in Tokyo, and I'm so glad that it was my first that I rode out there. And I don't want to say that I'm partial because it was my first ride out there, because it's still better than Beauty and the Beast, in my opinion. It's still better than anything else that I rode out there, because it was something that I had to ride every single time. So that's my number 3. Our top 2.
Number 2.
It is literally the same for both of us for these two. So our number 2 is Monsters Unchained.
The Frankenstein Experiment.
Honestly, no shock there, because we've said this before. Over at Universal Epic Universe. What are some of the reasons why you love Monsters?
it is very much a 21st century Haunted Mansion. Just because it's a continuous moving ride, right? So you think, it's kind of like an Omnimover. Haunted Mansion's an Omnimover. You can see other vehicles in the ride, but it's also kind of set into the story loosely, which is kind of how Haunted Mansion's presented, right? It's a little bit more story driven than Haunted Mansion is, right? There's actually a plot going on. With Haunted Mansion, there's not really a plot necessarily, but there's a full story going on. It has some of the best combination of screen effects and animatronic effects in the same scenes working together that I've ever seen in my life. And it's just everything a dark ride should be in 2025.
For me, it is 100% the animatronics, because these are, again, to me, Tokyo level quality animatronics.
And it's also the quantity that they're presented.
Correct.
And is just, there's so many.
And look, that can have a downside because, look, there are no B show, if you will, for these animatronics. We could talk about how you have the B show for the Yeti on Expedition Everest, which is obviously permanent for
that's similar to the B show of how these other animatronics are. They just
but
kind of go static.
You don't have that on Monsters, and that's something to consider. I would tell you this: if you went through that whole ride and none of those animatronics were working, yeah, it would suck.
They would never present it that way.
They would never. And the last time we at least were at Epic Universe,
there were 2 things not working.
I thought it was more than that because
it was 3.
It was the first Frankenstein that you saw,
the Mummy, Dracula at the end,
and Dracula at the end. Yeah. So
that being said, it's like it's hard to remember what's not working because the rest of the ride is so good.
It is, and I don't think I've personally done a ride on this where everything has worked yet. I'm sure we'll get there one day, especially when, again, your daily or whatever reminder, Universal, give us an annual pass option for Epic Universe.
Yes, please.
But one day we'll probably see that, and yeah, this will be incredible. This is definitely worthy of the top 2. Number 1, no shock with number 1.
It's the same ride again.
Epic Universe.
It's the same ride for us again.
Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry.
It's kind of like Monsters. It's everything I said about Monsters, about the best combination of the media-based attractions and the dark rides, except it's taken to the next level. And the fact that these 2 rides are in the same park,
yep,
is just mind-blowing because you only get this kind of ride once in a while. There's only might be like one in the country for a while, but to have both of these in the same park at the same time is just nuts.
I mean, easily you could go into this park and just ride these 2 rides, and I think you'll have an amazing. You'll have gotten your bang for the buck.
But I think specifically, Ministry of Magic, the level of immersion they were going for in terms of entering the queue, going through the queue, leading up to the ride, it was 100% Universal's answer to Rise of the Resistance. Now, absolutely. I'm not saying it's better or worse than Rise of the Resistance, but it is definitely... In my view, it is. It's definitely scaled up.
Yeah.
Right? The wow factor, it's a little bit bigger. When you enter the Ministry from the Flu Network, it's a little bit bigger reveal than the hangar is on Rise of the Resistance. And that's definitely more impressive. There is no pre-show isolating people into groups kind of experience, and
True.
I think maybe that's the part where it's lacking a little bit.
But I think the pre-show aspect is the whole queue as a whole, especially the atrium right there.
Yes.
As long as you are keeping people engaged, they don't care. They really do not care. Sorry, that's the computer going off there if you heard that little ping. for me, with Ministry of Magic, what I love with this attraction is the total immersion that you have.
Oh, yes.
I've said this plenty of times. You can go on something like Haunted Mansion, and they can put that little hood over your doom buggy, if you will, so in this way you can't see what's up there. But the curious kid, as he was 20-something years ago, I could be poking my head out around the doom buggy. Oh, look, there's the ride system.
You can't do that
there's
with
the
this
lights.
vehicle.
You can't with Ministry because of how they enclose you in, and you want to look around to see where you're going to be going next. You want to be looking around to see the lighting system and everything, but you can't.
Now, I will say there was, on my first ride on this thing, there was that one moment, that the first battle scene, where we were looking. I was looking at the scene, and I was like, what am I looking at? And then I realized I wasn't looking... What I was looking at wasn't part of the screen. It was an actual animatronic. It just looked so realistic that it was an actor on the screen, but it was an actual animatronic moving with that much fluidity.
That is how nuts. You blend physical with virtual. And I think that's something that Universal is starting to perfect.
They did it with Spider-Man with the technology at the time. There were parts, if you rode Spider-Man in 1999 or the early 2000s, there were parts of that ride where you were like, what exactly am I looking at? And now it's kind of obvious because, you know, the screen technology has gotten so much better. But with Ministry, they were able to do it again.
Right.
With Monsters,
Universal has always had that reputation of screen-based attractions. Okay? How many times can you see a screen on a ride? But more importantly, I think it was because of how you could see the screens. You could tell that was a screen. You could tell what I'm seeing is video. But what they're doing lately with this, and this goes for Ministry and Monsters, and
I really think
for
this
the
started
most
with
part,
Born.
everything at Epic, Born.
This really started with Born.
Was a perfect example where you can't tell what's screen and what's reality. That's how you do screen-based rides. That is the only way to do it.
So what we were talking about with the Bourne Stuntacular is there's this one scene in the beginning where there's a fight scene in a desert. And it looks like you have Bourne and like one or two actors on stage fighting each other. And it looks like everyone else is on screen in the background. And then Bourne gets thrown into the group of people on the screen. And then you realize there's actually like four more cast members on stage blending in with them. And it's just... It blows your mind. And so
that's what Ministry does so well. You can't... The blending of those Death Eater animatronics with the screens around them is utter perfection to me. I've been watching some TikToks that have been popping up of Ministry of Magic, and I've been noticing that they've been adding things too, which I'm grateful that we're going to hopefully be going in a couple of weeks so we can kind of see that new stuff. One of the Death Eater animatronics in those beginning scenes, the physical prop that he's actually on, that the animatronic is on, actually drops down now with the animatronic still on.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And when you get into the time turner room, there's a massive piece of a clock that since it opened was just stagnant there, but now it moves back and forth, and I'm like, oh my god. So this ride is not up to its full potential still yet. They're still adding to it, and again, that's what makes it my number one.
I agree, and it's just crazy that both of these rides, Monsters and Ministry, are in the same park.
Yep.
Because it's wild.
I mean, I will tell it, like we said earlier, if you got on Monsters and Ministry for your day at Epic Universe, I think you'll have your bang for the buck right there. I don't think you need to do another ride. Just do those two rides, and you've gotten your bang for the buck. But if you can't get on those two rides for whatever reason, make sure you try and do quite a few things, I would say.
Anyways, real quick, honorable mentions. I got one.
Okay.
It's no longer in operation. It's gone. It's been replaced. But Curse of Dark Castle at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
Okay.
Opened in 2003 or 2004, I believe.
What was that?
It was basically Spider-Man with a completely original story.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing this.
It was the gist was...
Isn't something else there now in its place, but it's kind of utilizing the same
theme.
Yeah,
it's called Dark Coaster now.
That's it, yep.
But Curse of Dark Castle was a take on a Spider-Man ride system with a completely original story. And being at a seasonal theme park like Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, back in the era when they were still doing some really good theming for a seasonal park, the fact that they went after... 5 years after Spider-Man opened, they opened their own version of that. I think that was really ambitious at the time. Absolutely for a seasonal park to do that. And I'm kind of sad it's gone and been replaced. The reason it's gone is really stupid, but I can't say that publicly. But Matt and I will talk about it later because it's a funny story. But that's something I think about frequently. There's another ride at that park that I think is an honorable mention. It's called Verbolten.
Yes. Because that's utilizing the same drop track like Hagrid's does, right?
Yes. And it's partially indoors, but it has a really solid story and theme around it, so I definitely think that's an honorable mention. Matt?
Gosh. I mean, if I could give 2 honorable mentions, I would probably say, okay, one of them is still not around anymore, but Universe of Energy was my favorite before it was replaced with Cosmic Rewind. I loved the animatronic dinosaurs that you saw on there, but more importantly, it was a nice relaxing thing to do when it's 100-something degrees out in the summer.
I enjoy the animatronics from that because it was the same designs from the World's Fair, the Ford Magic Skyway.
But fun fact for you, some of those were actually from the Magic Skyway.
I thought the ones they used in the Skyway were used in a diorama at Disneyland.
Most of those were sent over to the diorama in the Disneyland Railroad. However, 1 or 2, I cannot for the life of me tell you which ones they were. They were from the World's Fair. It was not the brontosauruses that you see at the beginning, because those were one of the ones, like you said, that were duplicated from the diorama. Neither was the T-Rex and I think that was like a Stegosaurus or whatever that were fighting each other.
No, because the actual ones are in Disneyland Railroad.
But I think it's a couple that were just a little bit past that. Again, not fluent on my dinosaur species, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you. I think one of the pterodactyls that you see.
That's what I was going to say.
I think they are. Universe of Energy, 100%. But also, 2, honorable mention, again, going back to Tokyo, Sinbad Storybook Voyage.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah,
because
you knew I was going to say that.
That it looks like such an awesome ride and just like a beautiful boat ride.
It is. It's and one of my big things to a ride is that it has to have strong capacity. Okay, all of these attractions that are in my top 5 and to that point my honorable mentions, they have strong capacity. So, unlike something like Ministry of Magic or Guardians or Rise of the Resistance or Beauty and the Beast, all of them to a point, they do get wait times, but those lines move. They move. That is something that is in with my top favorite attractions. It has to have a strong capacity. It has to be able to be a people eater. You can't keep creating attractions like Slinky Dog Dash that does, probably like 1,000 an hour or whatever it does.
Abysmal.
You can't create stuff like Winnie the Pooh that does a couple hundred an hour. The Finding Nemo submarine voyage, great attraction. It's like 900 an hour on that thing. A good attraction has a strong capacity to it.
So I would argue, one point real quick, if you have a bunch of those low capacity rides in one area, like Fantasyland at Disneyland, Mr. Toad, Peter Pan, Snow White, Pinocchio, you have Casey Jr., you have Alice. I think if you have a lot of them really close together presented in a themed area, that's okay. Because together, it's more kind of like one attraction.
Right.
Than it is really seen as different rides.
But depending on the day, you could spend a couple of hours doing that stuff. Now, granted, if you went and rope drop those attractions, that is one of my biggest tips if you ever go to Disneyland, is rope drop one morning the Fantasyland attractions, and then this way you could do every single attraction in less than an hour.
Multiple times,
more than likely too. Just don't waste your time trying to rope drop Peter Pan. It's a great attraction, but nobody should be waiting more than 30 minutes for that.
All the DAS rope drops it too.
True.
Was what we saw.
Yeah, when we went out there. I mean, that's every day out there because it gets such a long wait.
But again, I think it's a fantastic top 5 for both of us.
Yeah. No, I think
they're very solid rides.
Maybe we'll have to do a top 5 worst one day too. Because I know it would definitely be on that list for me.
I got a couple. Maybe one day.
We'll have to do that.
Desperate for topics.
Well, guys, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Theme Park Land podcast. As always, you can find us throughout social media, and we are on TikTok. Be sure to follow us on TikTok. We're working on the other one still. We've got the Facebook page. We don't have a Twitter yet, but I will be working on that. But definitely follow us on TikTok, because I think we're going to try and start that up. Truly.
Matt has to get off light duty at work and be able to do theme park trips now.
Yes.
So once that happens, we're going to, it is on the agenda. Once I'm able to be my full normal physical self, we're going to try and get out to the parks more on our weekends and get some content for you guys.
Absolutely. So, as always, thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next time for another episode of the Theme Park Land podcast.
So long, everyone.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time.